this is Animat, and welcome back to the Muppet Vlog. Now this time we're going to be looking into the 16th episode of the second season of The Muppet Show, which includes Cleo Laine. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the name of Cleo Laine, she is actually a well-known jazz singer on top of doing pop as well. And she is noted to be she collaborated with many other popular classical musicians. Some of these include James Galway, Nigel Kennedy, Julian Lloyd Webber, John Williams, no, not that John Williams, another composer named John Williams, and even doing a duet with Ray Charles. But on top of that, she is also noted to be the only female performer to actually be nominated for a Grammy in the category of jazz, pop, and even classical. So that is actually worth noting. And going into the episode that she appeared in, it was actually quite a very fascinating and interesting episode. I would have to say it was much more of an improvement than last time with the Lou Rawls episode. It's actually, we got a plot about Fozzie Bear where apparently his mom is actually in the audience, and Fozzie is just a nervous wreck to the point that he wants to make sure that in this episode that he is very prominent. Like, he wants to be, like, mainly featured throughout the whole thing. Like, basically, he wants to appear as much as Kermit, in a way. And, what ends up happening is that, like, he tries to find so many ways to be featured in many of the different sketches. And honestly, this is why I feel like this is a much better plot than last time that we got in the Lou Rawls episode. Because, if you guys recall, in the Lou Rawls episode, it was mostly a setup for a gag. Like, it didn't really feel like a story in itself, even though, like, they were pretty much building up to this one thing. And, but with this one, it's a lot more different. Like, they're not really building up to anything. It feels like a legitimate story to the point that there are several sketches that are affected by this, where, like, it's not just even in the sketches, but also in terms of the introductions, where Fozzie Bear would suddenly be appearing on stage and introducing the next bit, or even the next special guest star. It's actually quite funny, in fact. But in one way, I will have to say that this is the kind of episode where we see this side of Fozzie Bear that really is lovable and even relatable in a way, because the fact that he feels so nervous about, you know, seeing his mom is in the audience and he wants to be very prominent is something that I feel like we can all relate to. Like, rather it be a show or something that, like, when we're in a setting where we should be, like, presentable and we would be featured to the public, there was, like, we do have a bit of nervousness, and, like, we want to put our best foot forward for the sake of, like, you know, a loved one or a family member, especially if it's your mom. Like, if she would suddenly come in and, like, you have a show going on, like, even if it is a small bit, like, you want to make sure, at least for her, you want to make, like, the most out of what you have right now. Even to the point, like, you might not know what to do and you might end up even stealing the show. And that's basically what happens with Fozzie, is that he really wants to put his best foot forward for the sake of his mom. So what happened was that he would go and, like, you know, like I said before, like, he would often be in the intros, often with Kermit, or just throwing Kermit out of the way. Or he would even be in sketches where normally he shouldn't be appearing in sketches, like in Pigs in Space, where somehow he ended up taking the role of Miss Piggy. And the results that happen in there are actually quite hilarious, because somehow, like, magically, this even fooled Link Hogthrob. And, like, the only thing I'll say is that Fozzie entered upon the wrong Pigs in Space bit. And, you know, which honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, like, without saying anything, I wouldn't be surprised if this would be the same kind of reaction Miss Piggy would have. But, like, just the way that Fozzie enters into this scene, it's just fantastic. It's honestly great. And again, like, No, like, a lot of people seem to be fooled, especially Link Hogthrob. Nobody in Pigs in Space was asking questions. But it wasn't just that, but there were also many other sketches, like even backstage stuff, where he would go and always interact with Kermit, that would always have some funny moments and, you know, some great interactions with him and Kermit, like kind of seeing their relationship backstage and how, like, even like how Kermit has to deal with Fozzie, even at his worst when he wants to really be featured on the show, and especially at the ending bit. Well, not the ending, but at least in terms of the plot itself, where Fozzie would, you know, he would actually have Kermit appear in his own sketch. But I will have to say that, like, yes, technically there actually is an entire punchline to it, and I will have to say that, like, it only appears, like, at the end before the credits, but it really is effective. Like, this one actually really works out. Unlike the last Lou Rawls bit, where like, you just feel like it's an entire setup, like there's nothing that really affects the story or affects any of the other sketches. Like, it would just, like, the punchline in there, it would end up being something that we would normally get, which is a Fozzie Bear sketch. But in this one, this feels like a legit story. This affects many of the sketches that appear, and also, like, the punchline is safely reserved at the end, and it's actually great. Now, if we go into the special guest star that we have, Cleo Laine, I will have to say her inclusion here is a bit weird, and I'm not saying that, like, how she's in the show is weird or anything like that, but some of the sketches, they are rather unusual, and the reason why I say that is because, it's tough to explain, but I'll describe the moments that she appeared in the episode to give you guys a full understanding of what I mean. The first time that we see her was actually in, she was performing with the Electric Mayhem with, It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. And what is kind of unusual is that she would actually take the time to introduce each of the band members. Like, she would actually, like, take a moment to stop singing and then, like, prominently feature many of the the guys at the Electric Mayhem. Like, she would stop and, like, introduce us to Dr. Teeth, to Floyd Pepper, to Janice, to Zoot, to Animal. It's like, it's something that I feel like it's kind of weird because we, like, if you're someone like me, if you're someone who's been, like, watching, like, these episodes, like, starting from episode 1 onward, like, at this point, you would already know who these characters are. Like, you already know the Electric Mayhem and the people, you know, a part of the band. It's just, I don't know, like, it's rather unusual. Why do we really need an introduction to the Electric Mayhem? But I don't know. I just feel like it's weird for me as a Muppet fan, but maybe for, like, casual viewers, like, you know, like, this would be, like, a nice little touch to know some of these characters a bit more. And then there was actually another one. It was the Swedish Chef, and, like, it starts out fine. It starts out like any other Swedish Chef bit, and then suddenly Cleo Laine suddenly comes in, and suddenly it becomes a musical number. Like, right out of the blue, she would sing, You're Just in Love with the Swedish Chef. So basically, in a way, you would only get half a song, because you got Cleo Laine singing the original song, and then you get the Swedish Chef version. So, like, you only, and this is the kind of, like, Broadway duet song. So, like, you got one person singing one thing, and then you got another one singing another thing. So you got it in English, and you also get it in mock Swedish. But very interestingly enough, though, I will say this. This is the first time in a very long time, actually, that we actually got another special guest star. This is not just about Cleo Laine. At the same time, we also got a special guest puppeteer, this time being Bruce Schwartz. And this is the first time since the Ethel Merman episode where they had Richard Bradshaw. But this time, now we got Bruce Schwartz actually doing some marionette bit. This isn't really like shadow puppetry or anything. This is more, this is actually very fascinating in terms of puppetry, because, like, we legit see Bruce Schwartz right behind the puppet, and what it is, it's like, it's a bit like marionettes, but it's not on the strings. Like, he is directly playing with the puppet itself. And you see, it's actually very fascinating because with Bruce Schwartz, he starts out with this puppet doing a ballet routine, and I kid you not, it's actually quite amazing. In a way, like, it's very, like, the way that he moves the puppet, it's very lifelike, despite the fact that he is legit hands-on to it. Like, he was legit holding on to, like, in terms of the neck, he was legit holding on with his fingers and, like, just moving the puppet. But just the movements itself, it feels lifelike. It feels very genuine. And especially, like, as a ballet routine, you know, it's actually very nice. And he is actually great in terms of his craft. And what's actually very interesting, though, is that unlike Richard Bradshaw, where they only showed him, like, doing this one little skit and that's it, like, that was the only time that they showed him there, this isn't the only time Bruce Schwartz actually appears in this episode, because he actually appears at the end with Cleo Laine, and I thought that was, like, really cool, and probably one of the best, final acts in terms of the series. It was actually fantastic. You got Cleo Laine singing a song. I don't know, for some reason they don't specify here, which is kind of weird, but you got Cleo Laine singing a song, and at the same time you got Bruce Schwartz. This time you don't see him, it's like a black background behind him, but it's pretty much Cleo Laine, and then you see Bruce Schwartz performing these puppets about a woman reminiscing to, like, pretty much what seems to be her husband that's dying, and it's very sincere. It's actually very nice, and honestly, it's something unlike anything you would see in any of the episodes of The Muppet Show. Like, okay, yeah, sure, there are a lot of sincere, touching moments in any episode of The Muppet Show, but this is one that, like, it's nothing like you've seen before. This is something that's very unique, but it's very well performed, very well executed at the same time. It's like a new level of puppetry that you're not used to with The Muppet Show. It is a very interesting contrast where we see the crazy antics of Fozzie Bear trying to impress his mom, and then you got this, where, like, this is a different form of puppetry. It's a lot more serious, and, like, you even include the special guest star that is prominently featured singing this song with the puppeteer. So this is honestly pretty amazing, and I'll have to admit, I think I prefer Bruce Schwartz than Cleo Laine in this particular episode, because I feel like with Bruce Schwartz, they really show his skills. Like, this is an episode they really show, they really present his artistic skills. Like, pretty much showing what he does best, basically, more so than with Cleo Laine. Like, okay, yeah, she's a singer, and, like, she has her moments with singing with some of the other Muppets, like the Swedish Chef and the Electric Mayhem, but Bruce Schwartz definitely stands out among everything else in this episode. And of course, like, there are a couple more of, like, different sketches that, you know, that are kind of separate. Like, there is like, the opening number is actually Limbo, which I don't know if I would count that as an opening musical number. Like, I don't know if this would be a song per se, because it's limbo, basically, and it's just everybody singing the same thing. Like, you just hear everybody singing limbo, everybody limbo, and then suddenly someone does the limbo at the same time, with a great ending with Kermit, like, trying to show his skills, which actually lingers on, like the gag actually continues even afterwards backstage, which is actually fantastic. And then you got another one with Rolf and a bunch of other dogs singing Mad Dog and the Englishman, and this is one of those songs, like you could tell this is one of those turn-of-the-century songs, but it was really hard to comprehend. It was hard to understand it. Honestly, like, maybe I have to listen to it a few times, but I don't know. It's like I said, it's a turn-of-the-century song. It feels confusing why all the dogs have to wear, like, this safari gear, and, you know, plus the fact that they were singing way too fast. It was like, Wait, what is this song about? Like, I felt so confused. I don't know, maybe I have to listen to that song again, but I would say that overall with this episode, it was very interesting, and a lot of moments really do stand out. This is definitely one of the better episodes to show Fozzie Bear, and, you know, pretty much showing outside of his, like, comedian side of who Fozzie Bear actually is. So it's pretty much a great episode, like, if you really want to know more about Fozzie Bear, who he actually is, and, like, you know, how he would handle some situations. So it's definitely fantastic on that end. But in terms of the special guest star, this is actually the first time that, like, they have two special guest stars, yet the one that they, like, the one that doesn't get the top bill is actually the one that really does stand out the most. I feel like Bruce Schwartz definitely triumphs over Cleo Laine, and the way that they use Bruce Schwartz is actually phenomenal. And, like, because of what they did with him, I would love to see the Muppets do more episodes with, like, special guest puppeteers. That would be really awesome. And, like, if they could also interact with the special guest stars who have the top tier, it's actually, you know, it's really great. I mean, the only time that a puppeteer technically got the top bill is just Edgar Bergen, but yeah, definitely Bruce Schwartz was definitely better than Cleo Laine, at least I felt that way. And overall, I feel like it just made a fantastic episode on its own. Like, maybe not one of the best episodes, like, it does have a few, like some things that are not so great, but whatever worked here are definitely fantastic. So anyways, with that said, that'll pretty much be it for this episode, so I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see if we'll have more special guest stars that can pretty much overshadow any of the other special guest stars that we've had so far. But we'll only know for next time, so until then, see you later, dudes!